Moolah trolls, moolah flows, moolah is such a tool weaponized by arseholes. Hello there, YouTubers. Welcome to another video and welcome to my channel. It's the 15th of June, year 2026. Both at Australian Eastern Standard Time / Sydney time, as well as local Peking time. So during this filming session, I would like to talk about money and some of the intrinsic nature I discovered about money as currently a brokey. Unfortunately. And on the side note, I beg your pardon for kind of having to film with my rather archaic iPad, since I found it rather inconvenient to film a video, to film a somewhat proper video using my PC and the USB webcam I purchased last year, especially during nighttime. It's kind of hard to configure the light and the contrast and the degree of saturation properly, and according to my to my own level of self-esteem, and and on the other hand, maybe also to the preferences of YouTube's cunning yet somewhat stupid algorithm. But enough pleasantries. So I just like to to point out, like I said, some fundamental, some intrinsic nature about money I discovered over the years, through the ups and downs of my life, and some comments from some of my viewers, including some trolls, some younger dudes, though I'm not saying that I possess a large amount of wisdom that comes with my age. But still, I first and foremost, if you'd ever come across someone, well, regardless of his or her, regardless of whether he is a dude or a woman, saying that money is the root of all evil, or the nature of money is intrinsically evil, then unfortunately you more or less run into a brokey who hates money. And it's not healthy and nor rational to hate some tool, to hate some tool or a weapon. Well, yes, money is a tool, and of course, particularly nowadays, the regimes, the slave masters, they relentlessly and ruthlessly weaponize money to better to extract more energy, more more loosh out of their slaves, out of their faithful subjects. So so the way you hate money just due to the fact that you run out of money to afford a fairly comfy life and a fairly a decent standard of living, most likely. Well, since I can see a lot of a whole lot of parallels between those who hate money and those who hate women, just because they consider themselves incels, aka involuntary celibates. So they assume that all women come after their money, their status, and are gold, aka gold um, um, diggers, but instead, not all women behave like that. Well, I can tell, say, for example, my grandma, she was definitely not a gold digger per se, since even if say she separated herself from my grandpa, most likely due to DV, due to domestic violence, she suffered from him, in the I guess in the early years of their marriage. But since about the specifics of about the specifics, I guess I can only speculate and comment thus far. But since she I guess she lived pretty much throughout, well, at least from the part I could see, she pretty much lived the rest of her life rather frugally, and she never pretty much never hesitated to financially support her her children, all her children, and her grandchildren, including me. Well, that's just another example. I don't mean to get the whole video, the main topic of the whole video sidelined or sidetracked, but instead, just so you know that those that constantly, say to you that money is evil, women are evil, they hate women, they hate their lives, just because they can't get any women, just because they can't get themselves laid, blah blah blah. They hate their lives, blah blah blah. They want to die, blah blah blah. Well, yes, I don't deny the fact that yes, I myself hate life, but I don't hate women. Well, at least I don't hate women in general. Women are a fantastic creation of God's, and they deserve love and protection from us men. Though yes, there are a lot of women, who are, yes, indeed highly materialistic, highly say predatory. Yeah, since they prey on men for their for their own benefits, for the sole sake of say extracting money, validations, and and constant attention, say from their partners or from their husbands, boyfriends, blah blah blah. Um, and also take note of this. Those that say oftentimes claim that they are not materialistic. They believe they constantly, those that constantly say that they don't believe money isn't say isn't everything, and yet they contradict themselves by saying, well, money is evil, money is the root of all evil, blah blah blah, or sex is everything, blah blah blah. Well, sex is most definitely not everything. There are plenty of other, well, you can find plenty of other, say, sorts of copes other than sex, say video games, or you can just, go out and touch some grass. Even so, once you have gathered a sufficient amount of moolah, funds slash money to touch grass, to travel, further, to travel beyond your range of comfort zones, you will realize that sex is definitely not everything. And whoever says so, whoever often says so, they oftentimes don't get enough sex to to have that level of post-nut clarity. So they never take notice of things, of enjoyable things, of pleasant and magnificent sceneries and views, and they don't well, at least they have existed since you were born, so they are definitely not part of sex, or part of um, everything about life that you believe that actually matters. Um, so my conclusion, say those that those fake people, those hypocrites will turn on you, will turn into ruthless and highly materialistic bastards the fastest, once they say somehow they gather a sufficient amount of wealth that qualifies them for the level of a billionaire, or at least a multi-millionaire. They will as far as I believe, they will turn into the most selfish, the most materialistic bastards the soonest, the fastest, as soon as they say they win a lottery, or they manage to have found some sugar daddies or sugar moms, sugar mummies, blah blah blah. They are not they are not true. Let's just say, in other words, I don't believe they are true black pillars, who have reached, the level of self-awareness, or level of consciousness of, when it comes to, the fundamental, the intrinsic nature of life, of money, of sex, of, of women. So, they just, say, say what they say, because they need to blow up, they need to blow off some steam, and that's completely understandable. Though it does not constitute an excuse to remain ignorant. Well, especially in the especially, when you are a man, you have utterly no excuse to, to feed yourselves, lies and delusions, when those, when the facts and truths just lie in plain sight. But still, even if you yourselves say, or some of you choose to do so, yes, I will, I can't, and I won't tell you exactly what to do or what to believe specifically. After all, it is your life. You have the, you have the. Well, I won't say that you have the agency, to act as you see fit, but at least you have the, the, at least some degree of freedom, to say, to choose what to believe and what to do about your own situation. But yes, there are, say, well, for a dude, stranded in a so desperate circumstance as I guess currently I don't have, I don't have, that much of freedom of choice, but to continue pushing forward with my life, no matter how shit it it gets. And yeah, but yeah, just so you know that money is not, it's definitely not, the root of all evil. Though yes, though those evil forces and principalities and slave masters, they do, from time to time, weaponize money to to engage in evil deeds for their own benefits, for their own enjoyment and satisfaction, and their own and push for their own agenda, of course. So yeah, what else? Like just like Jesus said, first plow out or pull out, the mote in your own eyes, then you can see clearly what's inside your brother's own eyes. You earned no credit, nor position whatsoever to bash or criticize others. If you yourselves are guilty of certain misdeeds or certain vices, say gambling, illicit drugs, or say bad luck with money or women. Yeah. Since doing so does ultimately does neither you or others no good whatsoever. You are only accentuating or or fueling the more zero sum games instead of a more mutually beneficial arrangements. Yeah. Yes, I guess I guess I have talked quite enough. Just yes. So to summarize, pay no attention to hypocrites, and learn to read people. Learn to gain more power on yourselves, most importantly, and more specifically, on your own mind. And then you can gain more power over, over money, over women. Yes, I guess that's pretty much all I can spit out from my traumatized and broken brain. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and stay far from weak, stay out of trouble. I don't really care if you like this if you like or dislike this video, but in case you have something to say even if you disagree with me, feel free to post them below this clip. And yeah, until next time, if God's still willing. Cheers. Take care.